Hi students, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian. I'm streaming to you live from beautiful Central Europe. I hope everybody is having a good weekend so far, staying healthy, staying strong, and being productive and getting a bit of relaxation in as well. Hi, Janil. Welcome new members. I see there are a couple in this class as well. This is a members chat class, of course. Everybody is welcome to watch. To become a member, click the join button next to the subscribe button. Hi, Carolina. Hi, Ois. Hi, Nick Hill. Hi, Abhishek. We will have an all chat class where all of our viewers can join the chat coming up in 90 minutes. That will focus on speaking part 3. This class focuses on the reading section. We will look at a new reading passage today, and we will focus on giving correct answers. As usual, our materials are brought to you by aehelp.com for academic IELTS. Visit us there. Join our premium package. Begin learning for success. For general IELTS, visit us at IELTShelp.com. That's generalieltshelp.com. I'll just really quickly show you those websites. I'm sure our members are quite familiar. This is our academic one here. Click that big red button to join. This one here is our general with the green background, and you can click that big red button to get the premium package and get access to all of our video content, practice exams, interactive courses, full version applications for your mobile, and lots of goodies. If you have questions, send me an email, adrian@aehelp.com, and I will gladly respond. Hi, Ferdavs. Hi, Rajveer. Nice to see more members in the class. All right, let's get into the reading passage for today. The title of this one's a bit bright because it's on a white background, but the title here, I'll just rewrite it, is Currency Around the World. There, you can probably see that clearly now, right? Currency around the world. That's what we're dealing with today, and some of you might have guessed that from the image here as well. Okay, so we have the title, we have the picture, and we'll get right into it. What do you think this is about? So what can you predict about this passage based on the image and based on the title? So use your critical thinking and give me some simple, accurate, concise inferences. Inferences means an educated guess, because you're basing it on facts, on what this passage might be about. You always want to predict and think about the contents of the passage before you begin reading. Ferdav says maybe it's about dominant currencies, not dominate currencies for us, but dominant. So the word form, right? Dominant currencies. Yeah, I guess for Dodge, you're thinking dominant currencies because the euro is a very strong currency and used by many countries, especially, of course, in the European Union. So perhaps it's a good guess, I think. Janil, why take that back? I had a quick glimpse and it looked good. Differences between currencies of different countries. I think that was a good guess. That's possible. Rajveer says the history of currency and its value in people's lives. Rajveer, I can tell that your critical thinking is going through the roof. Yeah, because if we think what is currency, then we have to think of history. If we think why do we have currency, we definitely think about the value in people's lives, right? So you have a what and a why included in your answer, and that's very clever. Yeah, OS, same thing. OS is like the value of currency, right? We can't exactly eat money, so what is the value of money? That makes sense. Yeah, Carolina, you got it, right? History. Yeah, what's the past? What is currency? Where does it come from, right? Okay. Romain says, are currencies governed the same way around the world? Yeah, Obviously, how are currencies regulated? That's a good thought as well. Romain, very clever. Monetary flow between people. Absolutely, Janil. So these are some good ideas. Now, when you're visualizing, you should see yourself using currency, right? So you go to your job, you make some money, you invest some money, you make some more money, hopefully. You take that money, you buy a car, you buy some food. So you're visualizing, you go to another country, you exchange it for their currency. So here you should visualize how you have used currency in your life. Paper money, coins, maybe virtual money, maybe cryptocurrency these days. So all of these thoughts should be coming into mind because there could be content about it. Okay, and then we shall go to the questions and see if we can maybe get a little bit better idea. I'm going to brighten this up here a bit just because of the title. I had it a bit darker, but you can see me a little bit better. All right. Okay. Yeah, Nick Hill's saying maybe the evolution of currency, right? So what is the history of currency if we think back a few centuries or a few millennia? Okay, so here we have, this is a very popular question in the IELTS. Which paragraph contains the following information? Why do you think IELTS really likes this type of question, this matching information to paragraphs? There's actually a logical reason for that, and I think it's actually one of the better type of questions that can accurately measure students' knowledge and ability for language and for reading in this case. Why do you think, members, why do you think so many IELTS passages have this, which paragraph contains the following information type question? What's the reason for that? Hassan says to test our understanding of each paragraph's ideas. Yes, Hassan. Jainil, very clever. So Jainil says because for this question, students have to read the full passage and really learn and understand it. Yeah. So everybody has the right idea. Jainil has a very accurate point. This type of question really requires you to read the whole passage. Trying to skim read or scan, as we talked about this often, it takes far too long because then you would have to, and it's almost impossible because so much is paraphrased. So this is a very valid and reliable measure of reading comprehension. So it's almost guaranteed that you will see this type of question in your IELTS reading, whether it's general or academic, because it's one of the most valid and reliable question types. That means that you can't use any kind of shortcuts or quick tricks to figure these ones out. You have to read the whole passage. You have to understand it. You have to have good reading skills as well as English skills. So that's why. Is that clear? Does that make sense? That's the reason for the popularity here. Because it's paraphrased, right? It's random where it is in the passage. It could be the topic, it could be an explanation, it could be an example. So you really do have to have an overall understanding of the passage for these ones, okay? All right, so here we go. And that's why you find them in passage 3 often, especially. Okay. All right. So here we go. Let's read these. A type of currency with no intrinsic value. So a type of money with no true value. Okay. An ancient gold standard, an old precious metal commodity. Grain convertible currency. So that's food changeable to money. The first non-representative currency. By the way, it's reading, students, in case anybody forgot. So make sure to read. Don't just listen to me, but read with me. Okay. All right. The first non-representative currency, the beginning of money that is non-indicative or is not revealing. Economic pressures influencing currency values in modern times. Monetary challenges affecting the value of money in recent decades. An example of the mismanagement of government finances due to war measures. So a situation where there was poor organization by authorities of the money because of war, strife. Okay, strife is another way to say war. The reason trade in gold was feasible in ancient times. So the logic of using gold a long time ago for exchange. Okay, so that's the kind of paraphrasing that you want to do while you read these. Any questions about the paraphrasing that I did there, members? So I know you realized I was doing that. If not, then, oh, sorry. I was paraphrasing, so I would read one of those and then I would paraphrase it with my own words in real time as best as I can. Okay, my paraphrasing is not 100% either. Just kind of the words that came to mind while I was reading. Okay, members, are you practicing this kind of paraphrasing with questions at home? And are you practicing it on pen and paper as well as just doing it mentally like I did? It's an important question. Yes or no? Carolina says, thumbs up. Absolutely. Good. Okay. You want to be able to do it fast. All right. The idea here is to do it fast. The reason I did it all mentally this time is just because sometimes students complain that it's really slow, but if you practice it lots, it can be very quick. Okay. Rajveer says, yes, mentally. Good. Very good. Okay. All right. So now we have true, false, not given statements. True, false, not given statements, just leave them. And then here we have some multiple choice. So which of these societies is given as an example of failing to properly manage currency? Okay. The following community or government or nation is provided as an instance of not using money wisely. Sure. Okay. What is a floating currency? A floating currency is described as, okay, all I did there is I took the question and I changed it into a statement. You're not going to read a question in the passage. You're going to read a statement. So don't worry about the choices. Don't read those. Those can make you confused. So don't do that. Leave them. Don't even look at them. Okay, I literally just visually ignore the choices. And then I read this and I think about it as a statement and I try to paraphrase it. Okay, that's what I do. To give myself a better chance of identifying the correct response after reading. Okay, let's do this. So let's read. Now, let's read together, everyone, and let's read carefully. I'm going to ask you what each paragraph is about and some questions just to kind of check how much you're visualizing and how much you're understanding from each paragraph, okay? So here we go. Let's do this together. Ready, everyone? And this is a comfortable reading speed. You don't have to read super fast in the IELTS. Abhishek, I just saw that comment. You said you do the paraphrasing, but not for this type. Abhishek, you should do paraphrasing for almost every type of question. For true, false, not given, or yes, no, not given, you don't really need to. But for many of the other kinds, you do. Okay, Abhishek? So paraphrasing is very useful for most question types. All right? Okay, so here we go. Let's do this together, okay? Currency is the name given to the system of money generally used in a country. Examples of today's currencies include the British pound, the American dollar, and the euro. Currency, however, has a long history, and its origins can be traced back to the cultures of Mesopotamia and Egypt more than 4,000 years ago. In these civilizations, animal-shaped pieces of metal were used as currency. These pieces of metal represented grain stored in a town granary. A person could presumably convert their money to grain at an established rate. The problem with this system is that it is severely susceptible to warfare and piracy. If a foreign army takes over a town's granary, all of a sudden, those pieces of currency are worthless. With these difficulties in mind, the next innovation in currency was to establish the value of the currency within the currency itself. So, what is this paragraph about? What is the main idea of this paragraph? Hassan says it's the background of currency. Yeah, I think that's okay, Hassan. I think we can be a little bit more specific. Owen says historical view. Nikhil says currency and its types. I think it's a bit too general. You're somewhat correct. It's definitely some old part of currency. I think we can be a bit more specific here. So when you visualize this, right? Visualize this. I visualize that I have this little animal-shaped piece of metal that I can use to get grain from a granary, right? Romain says it's the origins of the notion of currency, Mesopotamia and Egypt, yeah. Carolina says how currency was used in ancient times. Yeah, so if you're to ask me what this paragraph is about, I would say that so my answer to you would be the earliest form of currency and its flaws. Okay, so if somebody says, what do you think, Adrian, this paragraph is about? I would say, well, it sounded to me like it's the earliest form of currency and its flaws, right? Think about it this way. If then the person asks me, well, what do you mean? Well, I would say, well, the paragraph just told me that the earliest form of currency is somewhere in Mesopotamia, Egypt, 4,000 years BC, and there were some problems with the way that it worked. Okay, what was the problem with this currency? What was a logical or a social flaw of this early form of currency? Why did humans decide that it's not the best? So Rajveer says that it was linked to grain. Yeah, okay, and why was that a problem, Rajveer, that it was linked to grain? So why is it a bad idea to connect your currency to a food stuff like grain? So Romain says because it's easy to destroy by enemy countries. Yeah. Yeah, and Rajveer says it can be taken through war and piracy. Yeah, basically it's very vulnerable, right? So if somebody said, what are the flaws? It's very vulnerable to attack. Okay, all right? Practice this kind of, it's a great way to build your English and your critical thinking. So always practice this kind of concise question response system. Okay, good. All right, let's keep going. Anybody visualize, by the way, that you're living in ancient Egypt and another enemy horde just took over your grains and you took all of your little animal-shaped money and you threw it in the river because it's worth nothing? I kind of saw that. I was like, there's my coin shaped like a camel and my coin shaped like an elephant, and I just into the river it goes, because they just remind me of the fact that my granary got taken by the enemy. All right, let's keep going. Carolina says, kinda. Okay. Yeah, visual reading. It's a beautiful thing. And when you get good at it, eventually you might come to like books more than movies. Yeah, absolutely. All right, here we go. Let's read this. So, gold had long been the most coveted metal by many societies. The Lydians of what is modern-day Turkey were the first to use gold in coinage in approximately 800 BC. Having the coins themselves made of gold removed the need for the currency to represent something. It simply was a piece of gold and had the corresponding monetary value. The ancient Greeks further popularized the use of gold coins. They also used silver and copper coins. Silver was used for medium to large transactions, while copper coins were the currency of general use for the merchant and the peasant classes. Shaving of coins, whereby a dishonest person took some of the gold off a coin with a knife, was a significant problem until the scientist Archimedes discovered a method which could determine the exact amount of gold in any sample. From this point on, trade in gold was reliable and safe, which was one of many reasons for the successes and proliferation of the Greek and Roman empires. What is this paragraph about? Janil said, I just purchased some clothes. Okay, that's what you were visualizing. Yeah, okay. I don't think people were purchasing clothes in ancient times. They were just purchasing food, probably. Okay, maybe trading. What is this paragraph about? So what is the main goal of this paragraph? Okay, so first we have animal-shaped coins with grains. Now we have something. You want to really keep this visual catalog of 1, 2, 3, 4 throughout the passage. Okay? Yeah, so Romain says metal-based currency system. Romain, precious metal. Okay, precious metal. So it's precious metal-based currency. Metal, I guess copper would not be considered precious metal, but gold and silver for sure are considered precious metals. So precious metals, and then of course copper being a semi-precious metal, maybe. Yeah. Okay. Abhishek says the types of metals used in early days, also the negative side of gold. Abhishek, I don't think it mentioned any negative side of gold. Okay. Carolina says gold and silver coins become popular. Why? Very important question. Why do gold and silver coins become popular in the ancient times for Lydians, the Greeks, and then Romans? So why do they become popular? Oh, yeah, you're right, Abhishek. There is the negative side that's mentioned. Thank you. Yeah, I visualized that. The shaving, right? Cutting a little bit of that gold off of each coin. So why? Yeah, correction, Abhishek. You're right. There was a negative a long time ago. And why? Why are they popular? So why does gold replace these animal-shaped coins? What's their advantage? Because its value is limited for Dobbs? No, because its value is actual, right, for Dobbs? So it has intrinsic value. It has intrinsic value. Yeah, exactly, Rajveer. They have their own value. So gold is valued for being precious, for being gold. Exactly. Okay, let's keep going. All right, we're going to get moving here. I just want to get you really focused. We'll do one more paragraph like this, and then we'll flow through. Okay, here we go. C, let's do this. Because gold was reserved for high-end transactions, most middle-class trade was done in copper. When copper became more plentiful, driving the value of it down, the amount of copper needed for a certain transaction became physically cumbersome. to carry around several kilograms of copper coins was not particularly practical. In 10th century China, this led to the introduction of paper currency. These paper banknotes or bills represented a certain amount of gold and could be traded for that gold at any time. This is a system which in modern times is referred to as the gold standard, a system of intrinsically worthless bills which represent an amount of gold. The problem with this system is that banknote issuers tend to print more money than they have gold, so that inflation becomes a serious problem, not unlike today's credit cards. Societies pay for wars and other expensive endeavors by simply printing more money, a practice which is wholly unsustainable. Okay, so what is that paragraph about? So what is paragraph C about? All right. What happens? No pointing fingers for Dobbs. Okay, so Ois says linking currency with gold. Good, Ois. And what is that called when we have this linking currency with gold? So I have 5 pieces of paper, which is now worth 1 gold. What is that called, right? Abhishek says, introduction of the paper currency system. Yeah, I absolutely agree, Abhishek. That's what paragraph C is about, the introduction of the paper currency system. Hassan says, the early system of the banknote. Yeah. And what is it called? You could simply use those 2 words that remained, I believe, until 1967 in Switzerland. It was the last year of this system. It's just 2 words. It was very clearly mentioned there. Carolina, that's more of an explanation of a problem with this system. That's right, Abhishek. It's called the gold standard. Yeah, very good, Hassan. The gold standard, exactly. So this paragraph is about the gold standard, which also has a flaw, right? That people who print money can manipulate this system. Okay, so does everybody have in mind the history so far? So you have the little animal-shaped coin with the grains. That's problematic because if I steal all your grain, your money is now useless. All right, so let's do something better. Let's create a system where money is actually worth what it's worth. Let's create a system using gold and silver, the precious metal currency system. Fantastic. A problem with that, people tend to bite little pieces off or shave little pieces off, but hey, Archimedes solved that problem, so that's okay. But another problem is it's heavy, right? You can't carry around tons, and imagine you're trying to buy a cow and the cow is on the other side of town and you have 10 kilos of copper on your back that you're lugging across town. That poor man, by the time they get to the cow, they don't even want the cow anymore. They just want to get rid of that money. Makes it easy to bargain, right? Then from there, we're now switching into the gold standard, where, okay, you don't need to carry around all that copper. We'll give you a couple light pieces of paper, right? So keep it visually in mind. Okay, now I'm going to get you to visualize and think in this way as we read through the remainder, and then we'll tackle questions. Sounds good? Yeah, everybody ready to pick up a bit of speed here with the visualization, focusing on the what, why, how for each paragraph. Keep that catalog, okay? Yes, Abhishek is good. Everybody's good to go. Fantastic. Here we go. So, today's currencies are referred to as fiat currencies. This means that they do not represent gold or any other physical medium of value. They derive their worth from what the government says they are worth. The United States was the last major country to convert from gold-backed currency to fiat currency in 1971. While intrinsically worthless money, that is to say, the paper itself has no value, is on the surface an unappealing notion, economic pressures around the world assure that fiat currencies retain their value. There are exceptions, however. Weimar Germany of the early 20th century experienced what is called hyperinflation, where a currency rapidly loses its value due to overprinting. In 1918, when Germany converted to fiat currency, a 1 mark banknote was worth 1 mark in gold. 5 years later, it took 1 trillion marks in banknotes to buy 1 mark in gold. In the stronger, more peaceful economies of modern era, such gross mismanagement of money is particularly non-existent, although inflation continues to be an issue of economic importance worldwide. Today's currencies, for the most part, are allowed to float on the open market. This means that they can be bought and sold as stocks are bought and sold. Exchange rates are set by the economic pressures of the day, and these can change markedly from year to year. Since the stock market crash of 2008, for example, the US dollar has diminished in value compared to other world currencies, most notably the Canadian and Australian dollars. Due to economic instability in countries such as Greece, the euro is experiencing downward pressures as well. From its humble beginnings as lumps of cheap metal representing amounts of grain, to gold coins, to the paper fiat currency of the 20th century, money has undergone many changes through the years. Today, currency is moving toward plastic banknotes, which have a much longer lifespan and increased durability. Grain, gold, paper, or plastic currency has been making banking, trade, and commerce possible for over 4,000 years and will continue to do so for the foreseeable future. Awesome. Let's do this. Let's see how confident, accurate, and quick we are. Okay. So, number 28. A type of currency with no intrinsic value. Which paragraph contains this information? A, B, C, D, E, or F? A type of currency with no intrinsic value. Okay, A, B, C, D, E, or F. Which paragraph first talks about the money that has no value? Rajveer says C. Okay. B. Maybe B. Okay, what is the answer? What would be your what's the answer to this? So what is the currency with no intrinsic value? Metal, for Dobbs, has intrinsic value. Metal is valuable. You can take a piece of metal, you can make a knife out of it. So it has value on its own. Okay? So no intrinsic value means it has zero value for that person. Okay, so Rajveer says something to do with banknotes, right? Okay. Which paragraphs talk about, or which paragraph talks about banknotes? Janelle says E. Okay. Rajveer says C and D. So we have a lot of answers here. Yeah, so C and D, right, I think, are the ones. Let's have a look here. Okay. So remember China in 10th century China, this led to the introduction of paper currency. These paper banknotes or bills represented a certain amount of gold. Okay, this led to the gold standard system. Okay, so the paper notes represented gold, so they had some intrinsic value. And then here it says fiat currencies. This means that they do not represent gold or any other physical medium of value. So which is the best answer? C or D? Remember, in the IELTS, you're looking for the best answer. Which would be the best answer, C or D, based on what we just read in these two? Absolutely. See, now all of you got it. So when you have the information, you get the right answer. It is D. The correct answer is D. Again, students, remember, what is the paragraph about? If you ask me for D, what the paragraph is about, I would say it's about a new type of currency that is not linked to any physical value. Okay? So if you answered and asked this question correctly for D, you should have gotten D fairly quickly. Okay? Fiat currency does not have any true physical value on its own other than what we say it is. Okay? It's $5 because we say it's $5. Otherwise, there's nothing really behind it. Okay? It's just a piece of paper. Okay? So don't overthink it and always ask that what, why, how question. Okay? The correct answer is definitely D here. All right? 29, an ancient gold standard. So first one was a little bit more challenging. I think the next ones are a little bit maybe easier. Which one is the ancient gold standard? Introduces, yeah, very good. There you go. Now you're picking up speed. Grain convertible currency. Number 30. Yeah, I see that everybody's getting 29 right. That's great. Yeah, the Greeks. Everybody's got A. There we go. Now you're rolling. Okay. 31, the first non-representative currency. I bet now you'll get it right. This is why it's important to get this one correct, because then you'll get that one correct. C. Yeah. And now, number 32, economic pressures influencing currency values in modern times. So economic pressures influencing currency value in modern times, number 32. '32 is E. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so that was the one talking about the modern fiat currencies, right? How economic pressures increase or decrease the value of the American dollar, right? So E is correct. Yeah, E is correct. Number 33, an example of the mismanagement of government finances due to war measures. So an example of the mismanagement of government finances due to war measures. Number 33. Which one was that? Rajveer says D. Ferdovs says C. Maybe C. Okay, so this one here, does it answer a what, a why, or a how? Meaning, is it a topic? Is it an example? Or sorry, explanation? Or an example? So number 33, is that going to be an example? It's an example, right? So Rajveer says that's going to be an example. So if I think that it's maybe C, maybe D, it's somewhere around the middle, I don't need to look through all the paragraphs. I can find it quickly. Where should I look? Yeah, Abhishek, exactly. It's the how, right? So it's giving the how information. It's giving the example. So where should I look in the paragraph most likely, especially in body paragraphs? Where should I look? So Rajveer, if I'm looking in D or if I'm looking in C, what part of the paragraph should I be looking so I don't have to do a lot of skimming or a lot of reading? Yeah, exactly, Jainil, exactly, Abhishek, kind of at the end of the paragraph. So let's do that, okay? Let's look at D, or sorry, let's look at C first, okay? So just the last couple of sentences. So societies pay for wars and other expensive endeavors by simply printing more money. Okay, that looks kind of interesting. Let's keep going. Okay, so in 1918, when Germany converted to fiat, it was worth this much in gold. 5 years later, it took 1 trillion marks in banknotes to buy 1 mark. In the stronger, more peaceful economies of the modern era, such gross mismanagement is particularly okay. So this is definitely showing me an example of mismanaging money, right? Hassan says, yeah, I remember the 1 trillion. That's a pretty bold number. So yeah, so it looks like D is the right answer, right? Okay, so yeah, C, D, E, D, right? D, it's that one, I believe. Okay, and then the reason trade in gold was feasible in ancient times. Number 34, okay? Last one here, what is that? The reason trade in gold was feasible in ancient times. Yeah, B, absolutely. That was the one explaining how gold worked in ancient Greece, the Lydians, and B. Okay, there we go. So you're doing a good job. All right, so remember that you can find the answers by identifying what type of information this contains. So if you're not sure and you realize that it's an example and you have an idea of 1 or 2 paragraphs, then you know exactly where you can look or what area to find it in, okay? All right? Okay, good. Let's keep going. True, false, not given. Currency whose value is self-contained is susceptible to loss of value from warfare. So currency whose value is self-contained is susceptible to loss of value from warfare. Is it important to know about currency that has intrinsic value, that has value in itself? Yeah, and whether or not it can be affected by warfare? Yeah, I think that's important, right? So it's important to know that. Yeah, everybody agrees? Okay, and is it true? Is it true that a currency which has its own value is vulnerable, susceptible means vulnerable, to losing money during warfare? So is that true? Rajveer says it's false. Others say it's true. Let me ask you this way. Give me an example. What is an example of currency that has value self-contained? What is currency that has value that's self-contained? It's important to know this. Okay, so what are we talking about here? Are we talking about the little metal animal? Are we talking about gold? Are we talking about paper money? So Jainil says gold. Nick Hill says gold. Silver, sure. Okay, so does gold lose its value from warfare? Yeah, okay, so everybody's got the right idea. We are talking about gold. Does gold lose its value during war or warfare? So if I have a piece of gold, does it become less valuable when there's war? Ferdov says no, absolutely not. In fact, these days what happens when there's war is this kind of currency goes up in value, right? Because it's the only reliable currency. So anytime there's trouble in the world, like with the COVID-19, I'm sure all of you saw that the price of gold went, right? Because it's got self-contained value, right? So then this has to be confidently false, okay? Confidently false, right? Okay, remember, too, members, that the IELTS does not lie, so they wouldn't give you untrue information. The fact in the world is that currency that has self-contained value becomes very valuable during warfare. Okay, 36. Archimedes discovered a method of shaving coins without being detected. Okay. Is Archimedes' discovery important for this paragraph or for this passage? For 35 or 36? So is what Archimedes discovered important? Does the passage talk about Archimedes? So Rajveer says, yes, it's important. Carolina says, yes, the passage talked about Archimedes. Does everybody remember this name? If you remember this name, careful to just quickly jump over this information here. So Archimedes discovered. So the author talks about Archimedes' discovery, right? Yeah, Abhishek says, yeah, in paragraph B, they talk about that, right? Absolutely. Remember? Paragraph B. This was very visual too. You should have visualized this here. So, until the scientist Archimedes discovered a method which could determine the exact amount of gold in any sample. Okay? So, they do talk about Archimedes' discovery. Is Archimedes' discovery how to shave gold and cheat people? No, his discovery was how to find out if people are shaving. So again, it's false. So it is important and it's false, okay? Careful, don't be too quick with the not givens, okay? When you're trying to figure out if it's important or not important, if it's given or not given, you have to be very careful with that first step. It's almost more important than the next step of figuring out whether it's true or false, okay? So this two-step process for true, false, not given, step number one, is it important or not important? Be very, very, very careful with that first question. Okay, everybody, thumbs up, little yay, yeah, okay. So yeah, Hassan, you have to be very patient and very critical with that first one, right? Here, is Archimedes' discovery important for this passage? Yes, it is, because he figured out how to make sure that people aren't cheating with gold currency, right? Okay, so you have to be a little bit extra careful with that first question. Okay, good. All right. Number 37, copper was considered a precious metal by medieval societies. So is it important or not important to know whether or not copper was considered a precious metal by societies? Is that important? Ois says yes. Abhishek says yes. Romain says true. Nikhil says yes. Okay. You're being very fast. You're being too, I just said, be slow with this, okay? What's the topic? What's the topic of this statement? Janiel says not. What's the topic of this statement? Okay, what are we talking about? You're saying we're talking about copper. Okay, I actually say that we're talking about medieval societies. Okay, because the agent of the action here is medieval societies. Medieval societies are considering copper. So medieval societies are the doer of the action. Okay? This is a passive sentence, right? So copper was considered, it's passive voice. The agent of the action, careful with passive voice, okay, is medieval societies. So medieval societies are doing the action of considering, okay? So everybody sees that this is it's called the agent of the action. Okay? Everybody sees that? Because of the passive voice. So notice the passive voice here, right? How do we know it's passive? Because you have the subject, not the topic, the subject, okay? Then you have the be verb and you have the past participle, okay? So by, right? This is where you have the agent of the action. So we're talking about medieval societies. Does the passage express what medieval societies thought about gold, silver, copper? No, right? So the answer here is not given, okay? I did not visualize any situation in this passage where there are a group of people in ancient times sitting there going, yeah, look at this copper. It's like amazing like gold. It's amazing like silver. I didn't see anything like that, right? So this would be not given. They don't even talk about gold or silver as precious metals. They just maybe thought they were rare, unique. So we didn't really see this, okay? Maybe you got tricked because I used the word precious metal when I was explaining, but the passage doesn't actually use the word precious metal. Doesn't use this word, doesn't use these words together, okay? Maybe you got confused because I use these words. This is why you should never read the true, false, not given before the passage, because then those words get locked in your head. And you didn't read it, but I used the words, and maybe that's what confused you. Okay, the passage didn't use the word precious metal anywhere. Okay. All right. Fiat currencies are intrinsically worthless. Last one. I think that's kind of an easier one. Is it important whether or not fiat currencies have their own value? Yes, it's important. Is it true that fiat currencies are intrinsically worthless? Abhishek says true. Janiel says true. Yeah, it's true. So another good reason of why you don't want to read or search or skim for true, false, not given, because here you have false, false, not given, and only the last one is true. Absolutely. Okay. All right. So we're almost there. Just a little bit more. Let's do this. 39. Which of these societies is given as an example of failing to properly manage their currency? The example that's given of a society which does not manage their currency is, without looking, let me try to cover that up. Okay, can anybody answer that question without looking at the choices? Trying to cast a shadow over the answers. Roger says it was Germany. I bet Hassan remembers it now too. Right? Yeah, because Hassan said, yeah, that trillion was just incredible. They went from 1 mark to 1 trillion marks. Yeah, Weimar, Germany, D. Right? No question. How do you go from 1 mark to 1 trillion marks in 5 years? That's definitely bad management or somebody stealing a lot of money by putting the printers on hyperdrive. Okay. Last one. What is a floating currency? Now, when you see this, you could search for it if you have enough time left. But what is a floating currency? Can anybody answer that one for me? What does it mean, a floating currency? I'm trying to cover up what is a floating currency? I think it's paragraph F that had that information. Abhishek says maybe it's a plastic currency. Oa says it's something with less value. Rajveer says it can be bought like stock. Yeah, so you can trade it, exchange it, buy it, right? Variable convertibility rate, Romaine. Yeah, so which one of these are the closest, or which one of these is the closest match? Abhishek says B. Rajveer agrees. And anybody else? Yeah, Ferdovs agrees as well. Yeah, B. Yeah, we can buy it on the open market. It's today's currency, right? You can go on the Forex, which is the International Currency Exchange, and you can trade whatever kind of currency you have, whether it's yuan or yen or rupiah or dollars of this and that type, and you can trade it for another type and buy it and sell it, and that's what some people do, is they trade, buy, and sell currencies. Okay, great. All right, good job, members. So that is a bit of currency history, economics, and some IELTS strategy. Great job, everyone. Well done. Good job for hanging in there. That's a tough one. Again, it's a non-physical topic, right? It's a bit more abstract. Well, a little bit physical if you're thinking of gold, a little bit less physical when you're thinking of fiat currencies. For everyone watching, check us out at aehelp.com for academic IELTS and gieltshelp.com for general. Lots of materials to practice there. We have speaking part 3 coming up next in 30 minutes. Abhishek, you're welcome. You're welcome, Rajveer. Hassan, great job, everyone. Hopefully I'll see you in half an hour. I'm Adrian. I'm signing out for now. Catch you soon. Bye.